jumping, nipping mode, and they're centered now, okay? So a couple minutes of calm, you go over and you take the dog off the leash. No big fanfare, like, no yell, no, you see, you're gonna learn, none of that. Just go over. If they stand up, you can make them get into a sit, put them in a sit if you have to, that's a boy. And I want your voice to be low and slow. And in fact, when you're working with dogs and trying to get what you want, and you don't need this voice all the time, it's only when you need them to do what you need them to do. When you need them to calm, that kind of thing, it's going to be low and slow equals control. I can rev the dog up with my voice, and I can calm that dog down with my voice. Okay? And now there's research. We anecdotally, Glenn and I, in our years of training, recognized that. But now there's research that shows that that low, slow voice is really a good voice when you're working with dogs. Okay? Now, that does not mean, people, that now, oh God, now I have to totally change my voice. No. It's only when you're working with them on your cues and commands and all that, and then when you need them to do something, you're going to jump into that mode of low, slow. Most of the time it's going to be, you might go for a walk, my biscuit, whatever you want, however you talk is fine. But when you need them to come to you, suddenly you switch gears, and it's Rover, right here, right now. You just have to switch. That's going to be tough for you guys. Let me tell you, it's not easy. It's a modification of your behavior. You have to flip to that other voice. And it has to become automatic for you. Okay? So in the car, practice this voice. For anybody who has a higher voice, it doesn't mean that you have to talk like this, just lower than your normal voice. We had an 80-year-old woman, I'm sorry.
Just real quickly, so if you want your dog to come to you, is it low and slow, not quick, like Coda come? It's like slow?
Slow. Low and slow is much better. Now, I'm not saying that they won't come to you if you're quick, or I'm not saying they won't do things if you whatever. We want to use what most dogs will respond to. Do you see what I'm saying? There are some dogs that no matter what you do, they're going to be fine. I've never had one, but there are some, you know what I mean? That no matter how you do it, if they're not even trained, but somehow they're just laid back, cooperative dogs, But what we use in class is the thing that we know works for most dogs. Now, if your dog is afraid of this voice, then we don't use it. So if your dog is a little fearful, we may not want to use this in descending intonation. Rover, come right here, right now, or come here now. And we use come here now to bring the voice down, rather than come, which is staccato. It's more like, stopping rather than bringing towards you, okay? So we use right here, right now for a lot of people, especially people having problems with recall, because the dogs are so used to come and they don't pay attention to it. So we change the whole cue to right here, right now. And a lot of times it works better. Plus we use come in so many ways. Come on, let's go. Everything is come. You know what I'm saying? So if you use something that's not common in your everyday language, it works better. So we found that right here, we had to use that with Cagney, our last Akita. He was a 4-year-old rescue dog, intact male, and you say come, and he'd say, oh my God, and he'd run away. So we had to change the cue. So instead of come, we used right here, right now, and that worked. I mean, we had to practice it. It didn't like one day I said it, now he's coming. We had to, but that was what we used when we were practicing. And eventually, fairly soon, he responded very well. Anyway, so for your dog, who may be a little fearful, you may not use this voice. Let's see. You may use, what's your dog's name?
Coda.
Coda, come here now. So it may be just a little bit more modified. For most dogs, I would use Coda, right here, right now. Again, it doesn't have to be loud, harsh, anything like that, just low and slow, with descending intonation where your voice is going down. Okay? So it's something you really need to practice, because we're a polite society. You'll do this, won't you? That kind of, it's always on the upswing. You know, our intonation usually goes up. We rarely go down. So it's going to take a little time for you. Practice it in the car, you know, when the dog's not around. I'm serious, you know, try to get into that mode because it really does work well. I'm not saying your dog is not going to listen to you because you don't use his voice, but I'm telling you that we have this method planned out. And everything I'm telling you is part of the puzzle, and when you put all these puzzle pieces together, it's a fairly effective plan. It doesn't mean it's the only plan in town. There are other ways to train dogs. I mean, we don't use treats for normal, you know, for just the basic training. We love treats, and we use them a lot, especially when we're working with problem behaviors. But we found a way to work with dogs where we can get them to learn the basic cues and to respond without treats, with mostly play and praise. Why did we choose this way as opposed to treat training, which is also a very positive, good way? Because when I train my dogs, I don't want to be carrying treats like I'm a walking delicatessen. Oh, I forgot the treat bag. Oh, I forgot my clicker. Oh, the dog is afraid of the clicker. Oh, I'm clicking and the other dogs are coming. You know, it's like I just want it to be me and my dog. And that's why we chose this method. There are lots of ways of training dogs. And as long as it's humane, if you can use the word humane for dogs, as long as it's humane and positive and it works, go for it. So if there's something you're doing right now that's working, don't change it because I've said we're going to use this. Let's say you're using a cue that's different from what I'm telling you, and you're telling me, well, I say come, and the dog is coming all the time. Hey, fine, don't change it if it's working. But if you know that your dog isn't responding well, then you might want to try what we're saying. Because, you know, if you come into the class and decide you're going to use your own stuff, which a lot of people do, oh, I've had dogs before, well, then why are you here? You know, I mean, you know, I remember this guy in class, it was about class number 5. We were in a huge gym in Marblehead, and Glenn was working with someone across the gym, and he said to the students, practice sit and stay with your dog. So this guy, I'm sitting right behind him, observing, and he says to the dog, he doesn't even use the dog's name, which we say, use the dog's name, Rover, sit. So they don't think you're talking to the kids or whatever. You know, and it's just good to alert them by name, and then immediately tell them what you want them to do. Don't get into this habit of, Rover, Rover, Rover. Yeah? What do you want? You know, you're turning the dog into a guessing machine. Like this guy said to me, he knows what I want. He knows I want him to get over here right now because going into the kitty litter and Well, if you say so, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, keep it successful. Be as clear as you can be. Rover, leave it. Rover, right here, right now. Rather than Rover, 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 you know? Or they jump, Rover, 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 you know? So tell them what you want them to do, not what you don't want them to do. Try to get out of the no thing. Rover, no. Try to build their vocabulary. If you can't get rid of the no, at least say, Rover, no, off. Or Rover, no, stop. You know, leave it. Right here, right now, move. You know, he's getting into my feet as I'm walking. Rover, move. And I push him out of the way, not hard, but I just kind of move him with my foot, you know, as I'm walking. Move. You know, you can see my feet better than I can. You know, that's your job. That's your job. You don't get in my way when we're walking and trip me. All right? So try to build your dog's vocabulary. Try to get out of the no routine. Every dog's middle name is no. Rover, no. Coda, no. You know, Skippy, no. They all have no as their middle names. It doesn't give them information. It really doesn't. They just know you're upset about something. Let's say your dog is in your formal living room, like my grandmother used to have the plastic on the couch, you know, nobody ever went in there kind of thing. Let's say your dog is in your formal living room, sitting on the couch, looking out the window, barking. And you come into that room and you say, Rover, no. What does that mean? No, don't be on the couch. No, don't be barking. No, don't be in this room. Now the dog's got to figure it out. He knows what I want him to do. Well, maybe, but let's be clear. Let's make it clear to him. So it's going to be Rover, shh, quiet. If you want them to stop barking, maybe. And that's not always going to work, because barking is a whole different ballgame, and we'll talk about that if we need to. Rover off, meaning get off the couch. Rover out of here, meaning leave this room, you're not allowed in this room. So there are 3 different things, depending on what you want, right? So don't turn your dog into a guessing machine. Tell them what you want them to do. Rather than stopping their behavior, refocus the behavior to a thing that you want them to do. Out of here means walk and go, rather than no, which is like, no, okay, all right? So, dogs are smart. After a while, no, a number of times in the same situation, pretty soon they kind of figure it out, but better to make it clear and to use vocabulary. Build their vocabulary. They can take it. And forget this thing that you can only use one word commands or cues. Not true. You don't want a real long one. Stop because there's a car coming, and if you don't do that, then it'll do that. No. But right here, right now, is a fine cue, just as much as come. And in fact, it seems to work better for a lot of dogs. Let's put it that way, for a lot of dogs. So tell your dogs what to rather than telling them what not to do. All right, so back to Rover, who's on this leash. We waited till the dog calmed down, and once the dog calmed, we waited a couple of minutes, and then we took the dog off. Now, once we take that dog off, and there's no fanfare here, no, oh, what a good boy, okay, now you're fine. It's just, okie dokie, Rover, that kind of thing, low and slow. And then if Rover comes back in a second or 2 or 5 minutes and jumping, nipping, starting all over again, gone, leash, walk away. You got to do this every time. And when you first try this method, the dog doesn't understand what's going on. They really don't. I do that, and then they put me here. Oh, I did it again, they put me here. Wow, I did it 10 times, and every time they put me here, and I didn't get to play. So now their brains are like, okay? I did this once in a class with a golden retriever who was a jumper. And I went over to the dog, and I went to pet her, and she started to jump, and I said, gone, and I walked away. And I played with some other dogs, and she's watching. I go back over to her, and she starts to jump up, gone, and I walked away. It took 4 times. The 5th time I walked over to her, she was like, I don't know, every time she comes over to pet me, she leaves. So now they start thinking, and they kind of back off a little bit. Yes, good dog. And then I went and actually put my hand on her, then she jumped up, gone, and pretty soon she realized, when I'm up off, off 4 paws, when I'm on 2 paws instead of 4 paws on the ground, whatever I want goes. I don't get it. I go to give her a cookie, she jumps up, nips me, whatever. Ouch, gone. Put the cookie away, walk away. I go to play ball with the dog, I feel those teeth. People, we're like, abuse spouses again. It's like, well, the dog didn't mean to do it. Really didn't. It was inadvertent. I don't care if it was inadvertent. You feel those teeth, ouch, gone, put it away, you don't get it. Whatever you want, you don't get if you're asking for it or inappropriately. This is inappropriate. Trying to grab something out of my hand is inappropriate. It doesn't work for you. The thing gets put away, I walk away, and you just don't get it. I don't have to yell at you. I don't have to punish you. Nothing. I just walk away and you don't get it. Every time, people. And remember, the first day, maybe even 2 days, if it's an older dog, it could take a couple of weeks. But if it's puppies, believe me, it doesn't take that long before they begin to realize. And the time on the leash is less and less. They calm down faster. And pretty soon, they go over to jump on you, and it's like, oh, what a good girl, that's so good. And as soon as you see her kind of make that decision not to jump on you, you're all over her. What a good girl. And you may start doing this, and then she may jump because she gets excited. Up, gone. Believe me, they learn very quickly to do what it takes to get what they want. Guess what the problem is? You have to be consistent. Because if 20 times you do this, and on the 21st time she jumps and you start petting her, I'm too tired to deal with this. That's it. You might as well not have done anything because it keeps them right in the game. And now it's even worse because now it's random and they're not quite sure. You know, is it 1 in 20, maybe 1 in every 5? I'm not sure. Let's see. So in the beginning stages, when you're really training them, and again, choose your battles wisely. Jumping, nipping, 2 of the biggies right now. Now with your son, or if you have kids or whatever, what you can do is already have the dog leashed. Go over with your son, play around the dog. As soon as you see the dog getting kind of mouthy or jumping, you both say together, "Oh, gone," and you both walk away. And he's already leashed, and your son will feel a little more secure, so you can do that kind of work. The thing of it is, if your son can learn how to say "gone" and then call you, if he can't handle the dog to leash the dog. Do you know what I'm saying? But if he can do that much, then, you know, but you would have to come pretty quickly to leash the dog.
Yeah, I think he'd be able to do that.
And you might want to put a little handle on your dog's leash. You know, they sell these little abbreviated handles that snap on, you know, that clip onto the dog's leash. And it's like the thing that I showed you out here. You know, it's about this long, and it leashes, and it's got a handle like this, so that you can, you know, instead of grabbing the dog's leash to take him over to or collar to take him to the leash to leash him, you've got a little more control, and you've got this thing you can grab onto. Now, where do we put the leashes, and how do we do the leashing? All right, that's the next step. Now, I would suggest to you don't use the crate. Why? Because they're in the crate a lot. Also, when you do this leashing, it's got to be 1, 2, 3. If you're upstairs, and I don't know what your houses are like, right? But if you are upstairs and the crate is in the kitchen downstairs, you've got to take this dog that's nipping and jumping, and you're walking along with him, and he's probably nipping you and all this, and you've got to go down the hallway, down the stairs, through the living room, through the dining room, into the kitchen, whatever, to get to the crate. Forget it. You just lost it. They're not going to connect. It's got to be 1, 2, 3. As soon as they jump off leash, walk away. It's got to happen within a couple of seconds. So the crate isn't going to do it. Plus, they're in the crate a lot of our dogs, so don't use the crate for this. What I suggest, and Glenn has other suggestions, I usually have leashes in major areas of the house. Okay? It doesn't have to be in every room or anything. Just, you know your floor plan, how big your house is, you know, how much distance and all that. So that anywhere I am, I can get to a leash within a couple of seconds, okay? So if you're upstairs, there definitely needs to be 1 up in the upstairs, maybe 2 downstairs, whatever. You know your house. Where do I put the leash? Well, I like if you have a closet with a handle, you know, knob, I open the closet door, put the leash on the handle, the knob inside, and let it sit in the closet with the door closed so that it's not just lying there where the dog might chew on it, you know, while it's not in use. And then when I need to, I take the dog over, open the door, leash the dog, and close the door on the leash so it's more likely to hold and not break things or whatever. Don't put the dog in the closet. I had a woman who we were working with, and she called, and I said, "How are things going?" And she said, "He's destroying the closet." And I said, "I don't understand." She said, "Well, you told me to put him in the closet." I said, "No, I told you to close the door on the leash." She thought I meant leash him and put him in the closet. I don't know what she thought. So don't put him in the closet. Now, for little dogs, be very careful, you know, because if you do have them leashed, and if you're leashing to the collar, some of them jump and, you know, spin around and all this stuff. We don't want them to get hurt, okay? So if you need to keep the harness on them, you know, to be able to, or just have the harness already on the leash or whatever, but just be careful with little breeds. You don't want them to get hurt.
Could you put the our puppy's pretty small, put him, I have kind of like an X pen set up, just because I'm house training him and I can't always,
Sure.
Could I put him in there?
You can put him in the X pen, but remember, if you're upstairs and he's upstairs with you, you can't take the time to come down and put him in the X pen.
Right.
Yes, definitely, that's fine. Mhm. In other words, you have to do something to be able to withdraw from the dog. without the dog following you. That's the whole idea. Questions about that? And that's for nipping and jumping that are attention-seeking. Now, if you see that after a week or two, it just doesn't seem to be working, then there's a chance that your problem isn't attention-seeking, it's control. And that's a whole different thing, and we would have to work with you privately.
What if you're outside, like, in the backyard, and he's doing that, would you hook him up
To a
outside?
tree, to the gate, to anything, and have it already there. And if you have something that's there and you're worried they're gonna chew it up when it's not in use, get a chain leash. You know, get a chain leash, or you can just get a piece of chain with 2 carabinas on the ends of them. Don't wrap the chain around the dog's neck, but just, you know, you can wrap it around the gate or whatever, and then just, clip it onto the dog's leash, or collar.
How long should that leash be?
Not too long, but not too short. You don't want them up against the wall, but you don't want them like so far out that if someone happens to come in the room, they can jump on them. You know what I mean? So enough